Good morning, love tubers. Awesome. Today is Thursday, I believe. It is June 8th. I'm doing some homework on Bitcoin, and I found this. One of my friends sent me this. I read through it. I said, this is a beautiful explanation of it. I wish I had this explanation 2 years ago when I started. And the link they sent me was to 99 Bitcoin. So giving credit where credit is due, and I just changed a few things around. What is Bitcoin and why is it so revolutionary? It is the first decentralized digital currency. All Bitcoin transactions are documented on a virtual ledger called the blockchain, which is accessible for everyone to see. Bitcoin gives you complete control over your money, unlike other assets you own, which are regulated by banks and government. As Bitcoin gains more popularity, more and more places accept it as a payment method. Before we talk about Bitcoin, we're going to talk about the breakdown of money. Money represents value. If I do something for you, if I do some work for you, you give me money in exchange for the value I gave you. I can then use that money to get something out of value from someone else in the future. History, salt, wheat, shells, trade, and of course gold have all been used as a medium of exchange. However, in order for something to represent value, people have to trust that it is indeed valuable and will stay valuable long enough for them to redeem that value in the future. Paper money. That's what we are normally used to, that and plastic cards. Paper money. Up until 100 years ago or so, we always trusted in something to represent money. Over time, we changed our trust model from trusting something as in something you can hold, to trusting in someone. Example. Paper money was invented. Instead of carrying around gold and breaking it down to purchase, for instance, a cup of coffee, imagine cutting up gold to pay for a cup of coffee. You may now use paper money for the transaction. Another example. The bank or government would offer to take possession of your bar of gold, let's say worth $1,000, and in return the bank would give you receipt certificates, which we now call monetary bills, amounting to $1,000. You simply took 1,000 in monetary bills back to the bank to redeem them for the actual form of money. In this case, that was the gold bar, whenever you needed or wanted or desired. That is where paper money, its use as money as an instrument or practicality and convenience began. However, as time progressed and due to macroeconomic changes, this bond between the paper receipt and the gold it stood for was broken. Now, they did not talk about this or touch base on this. They just said it was due to complications. But Executive Order 6102 required all persons to deliver on or before May 1st, 1933, all but a small amount of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates owned by them to the Federal Reserve in exchange for a specific amount of money per ounce. The government told their people that government itself would be liable for the value of that paper money. Humanity obliged. Basically, humanity just said, let's just forget about gold and trade paper instead. So people continue to trade with receipts that are backed by nothing but the government's promise. And it continued to work because of trust. Now, I could divulge in that subject matter. That might be for another day, but not for today. Even though there is no actual commodity backing paper money, people trusted the government, and that's how fiat money was created. Fiat money is a Latin word that means by decree in English. Okay. Meaning the dollar or euros or any other currency for that matter have value because the government orders it to. It is what is known as legal tender coins or banknotes that must be accepted if offered as a payment. So the value of today's money actually comes from a legal status given to it by a central authority, in this case, the government. And so the trust model has changed from trusting something to trusting someone, which in this case is the government. Fiat money has two main drawbacks. One, it is centralized. You have a central authority that controls and issues it. In this case, the government or a central bank. It is not limited by quantity. The government or central bank can print as much as they want whenever needed and inflate the money supply on the market, which is actually currently being discussed right now in regards to that platinum coin, in regards to the U.S. Treasury as far as mints. So if they do decide to go ahead with it, the coin would be legal, based off the law that passed in 1997 that gives Treasury full unilateral authority to mint platinum coins of any kind for any reason. Don't you wish you had a platinum coin for things in your life that don't go the way you planned or as you wished? Wouldn't it be nice? Anyway, that's a whole different subject matter. Let me keep going. Now, the real issue is that the problem with printing money is that because you're flooding the market with more money, the value of each dollar drops, so your money is worthless. When you see prices rising throughout the years, it's not necessarily that prices are rising as much as the purchasing power of your money is dropping. You need more dollars to buy something that used to cost less. I had to rewind this section back of the video when I was watching and listening a few times. And then afterwards I said gas, bread, eggs, water, milk. Those were all the things Grandmama and Mama told you if you didn't get nothing else to go into your house except bread, eggs, water, and milk to make it through the week. Those have significantly risen in cost. Gas. I remember when gas prices were 99 cents. Now you can see them in California as high as $6.99. Some places $3.99. So yeah, the Dollar Tree, which I'm sure is not going to change its name, no longer has items for $1. They are $1.25. So these are just some examples of what it does to the economy. Transitioning to digital money once fiat money was in place, the move to digital money was pretty simple. We already have a central authority that issued money, so why not make money mostly digital and let the authority keep track of who owns what? Now, the video he did was a few years ago. He said today we mainly use credit cards, wire transfers, PayPal, and I added Cash App, Venmo, World Remit, RIA, and other forms of digital money. The amount of physical money in the world is also negligible and is getting smaller with each year that passes. So if money today is digital, how does that even work? I mean, if I have a file that represents $1, what's to stop me from copying it 1,000,000 times and having $1,000,000? Well, my first thought is, if you got that file, you better not use it. You're going to jail. And that's not a nice place to go to. But he goes into detail, thankfully. This is called, it has a name, actually, double spend problem. The solution that banks use today is a centralized solution. They keep a ledger on their computer which keeps track of who owns what. Everyone has an account, and this ledger keeps a tally for each account. We all trust the bank, and the bank trusts their computer, and so the solution is centralized on this ledger in this computer. Okay, so basic accounting. You may not know this, but there were many attempts to create alternative forms of digital currencies. However, none were successful in solving the double spend problem without a central authority. Centralized money. Whenever you give anyone control over the money supply, you're giving them enormous power, and this creates three major issues. Now, the major issues, I just kept rewinding it and writing stuff down and taking notes. Corruption, number one. Corruption, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That is a whole sermon by itself. Yeah. Okay. When banks have a mandate to create money or value, they basically control the flow of value in the world, which gives them almost unlimited power. Almost. A small example of how power corrupts can be seen in Wells Fargo's scandal. And so I went and I started researching. Wells Fargo forced to pay $3 million for the bank's fake account scandal. That is actually the title of the article. I read several articles actually on them. Mismanagement, number two. It is the central authority's interest. If the central authority's interest isn't aligned with the people it controls, there may be a cause of mismanagement of the money. Fix my grammar real quick. A, for example, putting a lot of money in order to save a certain bank or institution from collapsing, as what happened in 2008. I went and looked that up too. The title of that article. And it dealt with the $700 billion bailout signed by George W. Bush. The problem with printing too much money is that it causes inflation and basically erodes the value of the citizens' money. One extreme example for this is Venezuela. I went and looked up that article as well. Venezuelans give up on counting cash and start weighing them. The currency is so devolved and each purchase requires so many bills that instead of counting the books, they are weighed. Control. You are basically giving all control of your money to the government or bank. At any point in time, the bank can decide to freeze your account, deny you access to your funds. Even if you use only cold hard cash, the government can cancel the legal status of your currency as was done in India a few years back. I had never personally heard of such a thing. I said, well, hold on, wait a minute. The name of that article was India Abolishes 500 and 1,000 rupee notes and fight corruption. This dream world. Whose dream world? Whole different subject. This was the state of things until 2009. Creating an alternative to the current monetary system seemed like a lost cause, but then everything changed. What is Bitcoin? Let's get to the juicy stuff. In 2008 of October, Satoshi Nakamoto published an online document called a white paper. I sent the PDF already to my email, suggesting a way of creating a system for a decentralized currency called Bitcoin. This system claimed to create digital money that solves the double spend problem without the need for central authority. At its core, Bitcoin is a transparent ledger without a central authority. Let's compare Bitcoin to the bank. Since most money today is already digital, the bank basically manages its own ledger of balances and transactions. However, the bank's ledger is not transparent and it is stored on the bank's main computer. You can't sneak a peek into the bank's ledger and only the bank has complete control over it. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a transparent ledger. At any point in time, I can sneak a peek into the ledger and see all of the transactions and balances that are taking place. The only thing you can't figure out is who owns these balances and who is behind each transaction. This means Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous. Everything is open, transparent, and trackable, but you still can't tell who is sending what to whom. I thought that was pretty simple. If you do have Bitcoin, you go to the address and it shows you everyone who pretty much hit on that address or where the address had been. It's pretty simple. Excuse me, I'm a little cold. Pardon me. It was a little cold out this morning. And let's see. Okay. You can see rows from Bitcoin's ledger. You can see a certain Bitcoin address sent a specific amount to another Bitcoin address on a specified date. All right. The first purchase that was ever made with Bitcoin was used to buy 2 pizzas by Laszlo Hanyecz. He requested 2 pizzas be delivered in exchange for 10,000 Bitcoins. Papa John's did agree, and now the price of these 2 pizzas, since based off the article from 2021, is well worth over $3.8 billion today. Now, that's what I call some expensive pie. Since Bitcoin is decentralized, no one computer holds the ledger. Every computer that participates in the system is also keeping a copy of the ledger. That means you're the accountant. It's in your possession. The bank's not keeping the records. You're keeping the records. You and the computer. Ledger, known as blockchain. To take down the system or hack the ledger, you have to take down thousands of computers which are keeping a copy of it and constantly updating it. Okay, some thoughts ran through my mind there, but I would like my video to stay up, so I'm going to keep it moving. Bitcoin is digital. Nothing physical that you can touch in Bitcoin. There are no actual coins. There are only rows of transactions and balances, like a ledger. When you own Bitcoin, it means you own the right to access a specific Bitcoin address record in the ledger and send funds from it to a different address. Now that was revolutionary, right there. I ain't had my coffee yet, y'all. Why is Bitcoin such big news? Well, if that didn't get you excited, for the first time since digital money came into existence, we now have an alternative to the current system. Bitcoin is a form of money that no government or bank can control. Think about the time before the internet, how centralized the flow of information was. I was given examples like New York Times, Washington Post. I do a lot of reading. Um, literally, you get it does what it does. You log onto the internet, the web, the spider web, and you search the spider web. All right. You can communicate and consume knowledge from around the world through the web, through the internet, with the click of a button. And I put a little side note here. Dear no technical savvy users, it is okay to click buttons. That is how one learns. Simply research and follow any directions, if any, before clicking away. Okay. Bitcoin is the internet of money. It's offering a decentralized solution to money. Bitcoin compared to banks. Bitcoin is different than the current banking system. Complete control over your money. You and you alone can have can have can access your funds. You know, he didn't mention this, but I thought back to when Stephen Thomas was locked out of his 220 million Bitcoin fortune. He could not remember the last two passwords. I went and followed up on that story today after listening to Nick talk, and he said he made peace with himself that he would never be able to access his 220 million Bitcoin fortune. Okay. No government or bank can decide to freeze your account or confiscate your holdings. Cutting the middleman. This means that in many cases, hasta la vista, baby, in my Schwarzenegger verse. Arnold Schwarzenegger. To traditional wire transfers or money orders. Programming. Digitally designed to add additional layers of programming on top of it and turn it into savvy money. Open to all, free. Bitcoin opens up digital. I had an inkling, but I didn't know the depth of. Bitcoin opens up digital commerce to 2.5 billion people around the world who don't have access to the current banking system. You don't have access. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so these people are unbanked. I had to rewind it back, and I had to get over that they didn't have access. These people are unbanked or underbanked because of where they live and the reality they have been born into. I had to let that sink in. A mobile phone and a click of a button, they can start trading using Bitcoin, no permission needed. That opens up a lot of different possibilities and avenues in regards to commerce, trade, new businesses, new business ideas for people who don't live necessarily on this side of the fence as far as country and resources. Let's see. Who who accepts Bitcoin? I have never used my Bitcoin to book a flight or a hotel, but I do know that you can do that, or at least I know the story that you can, even though I have not done it myself. And purchase houses, I believe, from one of the videos I was listening to. Bitcoin debit cards allow you to pay at almost any store with your Bitcoin balance. And then also, or as well, he did not include this in the video, but similar to ATMs in the US, Bitcoin machines can be found at most gas stations for cash withdrawals. For those wondering if you can get cash in a pinch if you need it. Okay, that wraps up, for anyone asking, a simplified explanation of what Bitcoin is. If you enjoyed, hit the subscribe and like button, please. Awesome. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching.